And welcome back to Who Would Win. Today's Who Would Win comes to us from Nancy Robbins. Nancy Robbins who asked the question, who would have fight? Deidara from Naruto, and I do believe I'm pronouncing the name right. It's Day and then Dera. Deidara from Naruto, Naruto Shippuden, or Yoshikage Kiro from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Now, Deidara, I've done it once or twice before, and I've actually watched Naruto, so I have a better understanding of his abilities off the top of my head. I don't watch JoJo. I've never read JoJo, so his abilities I had to look into a bit more specifically. But after looking into him, I see why this pairing was chosen. So Deidara was a missing nin from the Village Hidden in the Stones. He actually had a Kekkei Genkai, which allowed him, called Explosion Release, which allowed him to infuse clay with his chakra and make it into bombs. He did this with specialized hands that were on his mouth, which chewed up the clay and spit it back out. He had levels C1, 2, 3, 4, and 0, if I'm not mistaken. At C, he could also make giant clay animals to ride and fly on, like his clay birds. Like his clay birds they can fly on. But mostly what he would normally do for basic fighting was fire off tiny bits of clay animals, just as little, well, not little. They're small compared to his other explosions, but still, they're grenades, pretty much. That's exactly what they are. His C2 dragon, if I'm not mistaken, is a giant clay dragon that on its own could explode into a very large explosion, but more importantly, produce giant, much bigger bombs from its body. I'm trying to remember which one was C2 or C3, which one was C3 and which one was C4, if I'm not mistaken, or C0. There was one big one he did which nearly would have annihilated a village, but I can't remember the name of that one. I think that one might have been C4. Either way. Either C3 or C4 is where he basically did microscopic bombs that basically exploded your cells and basically disintegrated you. And this would have worked on Sasuke had it not been for him defusing the earth-based chakra with lightning-based chakra. His final one is where he has an actual giant mouth on his chest. He consumes a large amount of clay, more or less implodes in on himself, and does essentially kind of a nuke-like bomb. It was a pretty big explosion. Deidara is also capable of seeing through illusions, and Genjutsu is what is eye that he has the mechanism over, the weird lens over, because he trained himself to do that because he got beat by Itachi. He's a pretty good strategist, but he's not really good in a physical fight because it's just not his style of fighting. Yoshikage Kira is a stand user. In JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, there are stand users who have, basically, stands are like invisible, not people. They can take the form of many different things, but generally speaking, they're humanoid entities that can't be visible except to other stand users. And they all seem to have different abilities. Kira generally has a calm demeanor to him, but he's actually a serial killer with a fetish for hands. So he targets random women, takes their hands, and is just kind of effed up that way. Anyway, but his main abilities, though, his stand Killer Queen is a humanoid short-range stand with the unique ability to cleanly and completely wipe out objects and people alike with targeted explosions. This ability takes 3 forms that Kira named Bomb 1, 2, and 3. Bomb number 1, Bomb Transmutation. By touch, he can charge an object with explosive energy, which is then transferred into the first person to touch it. The stand then manually detonates the energy with a gesture. So basically, they create the explosion vary in size and power. But essentially, what that means is he could touch a person and make them blow up. Or he can touch something, and then when the first person who touches it, that energy gets transferred into the person and detonates. Bomb 2 is Sheer Heart Attack, an autonomous entity that detaches itself from the stand's left hand. It tracks and destroys targets with infrared homing. It's virtually indestructible and cannot be destroyed with ordinary means. Bomb number 3, Bites the Dust. Developed with the touch of the arrow, this ability is a booby trap. When triggered, it allows Kira to loop time, resetting for up to 1 hour in order to outmaneuver attempts to investigate him. And he also has something known as Stray Cat. Air Bomb Transmutation Stray Cat. After developing level 3, Stray Cat, Kira keeps Stray Cat in Killer Queen's abdomen. When Killer Queen's primary bomb charging Stray Cat's condensed air bubbles, Kira may create invisible, speedy air bombs, basically. Now, that being said, he has sacrificed some of his abilities in terms of actual combat. He's not like the main character who himself is actually pretty solid in a legitimate fight. He's a coward who hides while Stan does the work. Despite the power of Stan, Killer Queen, Kira's passivity led to an over-reliance on his powers to the detriment of his actual mastery. So yeah, despite his abilities, he's kind of a cowardly individual in some ways. So who wins the fight between these two? Well, they both have long range. Here's the problem here for Deidara. They both have long range abilities at their disposal. But just because Deidara can see Genjutsu does not mean he can see a stand. And furthermore, with Bomb 2 Sheer Heart Attack, the fact that it can detach the stand's left hand and tracks and destroys the target with infrared homing means that Deidara is going to get attacked by something he cannot see and fathom. He might have the instincts, being a trained ninja, to sense something's coming, but he wouldn't be able to figure it out, and that would probably lead to him being killed. Conversely, though, Deidara also could easily kill Kira with, I believe it's C3, which is the one that has the microscopic bombs that will detonate, basically degrade him, basically just incinerate him. Break him down, deteriorate him. It's not true disintegration. So it's a question of who's gonna get the first attack off, and then who's gonna capitalize on it. In this fight, Deidara is probably gonna be the aggressor, because it's a missing. Then the Akatsuki were also mercenaries for hire, so maybe this guy's a target for the Akatsuki. He's going to be raining down explosives. Now, that being said, I'm sure that Kira or Yoshikage is going to try to use Bite the Dust to do the time loop and just keep this from happening. Problem is that Deidara isn't gonna relent that easy. He's like, oh, where are you? Where are you? Now, Deidara can run out of clay. That's the problem. Whereas Yoshikage cannot run out of his stand. Maybe he can tire out eventually, but he can't run out of it. You're going to get a lack of ammo for Deidara before you get exhaustion out of Yoshikage. So, meanwhile, as Deidara is trying to figure out, where is that guy? Maybe I should just nuke the whole town. And then, Dross is like, nope, time loop that. Because he sees the sheer size of the explosives. They're just like, no. He probably will just pinpoint where he is and then just, boom, fire off a sheer heart attack. And now why is it called sheer heart attack? Well, it doesn't seem to create a heart attack. It's just attacks and destroys with infrared homing. It's a homing bomb. That's exactly what it is. The heat seeker. It's also virtually indestructible, so nothing Deidara throws at it, it's probably going to destroy it. So the question is it just going to completely obliterate anything it touches, or is it just going to do a certain amount of damage to Kira? Or to Deidara? Deidara may be using his senses, because again, trained ninja, that keen battle instinct, he'd probably be able to pinpoint, or not pinpoint, but figure out something dangerous is here. Maybe he flips his bird over, it explodes, he goes down and creates another bird. It's like, okay, you want to play rough, buddy? We can play rough. And at that point, he basically just, maybe he blows up the town more. Maybe he figures out, though, that he is in a time loop at some point, because that would be equivalent to kind of a Genjutsu-esque ability. Not quite, though, because there's Genjutsu that can distort your sense of time, sure. But at the same time, it's not the same as actual distortion of time, actual time manipulation. So while he might be able to figure it out, I don't think he'd really have a counter for it. Apart from just flooding with the C3, which again I think is the disintegration bomb, and at that point, then Kira's got nothing that can win against that. He's just going to disintegrate. Even if he tries to loop time backward, he's still disintegrating. Well, no, it's in his body at that point, so I don't know if he can stop it at that point. The problem is that while that is a scenario that could happen, the likely outcome is just that he uses sheer heart attack several times and just takes out Deidara. Well, Deidara, because he can find where Deidara is a lot easier than Deidara can find where he is in this scenario. And that's what this really comes down to, is the scenario that these two would be fighting in is much more advantageous to Kira than it is to Deidara. If this were a neutral ground where them both just facing off and both kind of just laughing at each other, I think Deidara would actually take the win because he just has more ready available explosives. And even though sheer hard attack could maybe work, it wouldn't be something that that could immediately stop an explosion in his face from Deidara. That being said, Stray Cat could, not Stray Cat, sorry, Bite the Dust could also work, still the looping. And there's still Stray Cat, which is invisible bombs to be thrown at Deidara as well that he just couldn't find. So the fact he's got so many invisible bombs on him, or invisible explosives, really make this a difficult fight for Deidara to really pull the majority of wins at. I gotta go Yoshikage Kira. And again, this is coming from someone who just reading off his abilities from the site. So I fully acknowledge I don't know a lot about Yoshikage Kira or Jojo characters in general to really give a firm opinion overall. That being said, I feel like given the information that is available to me, I can give a solid opinion. But again, I'm sure I'm going to get people who's like, why are you even doing this if you don't know the characters? Because someone suggested it. I always have to bring that up when people, get on my case. If you don't know the characters, you shouldn't do it. Yeah, well, if you can't say something nice, maybe you shouldn't comment on anything. You ever think about that? There's courtesy, huh? You ever think about that? And this isn't even people being trolls. This is people who don't have lives and just want to complain about people because they got something they really loved wrong. It's like, how dare you? It's like, instead of being constructive, it's like, and saying like, well, actually, this and this and this. I have no problem with someone giving me constructive criticism. I actually don't even have a problem if someone wants to bitch. But just know, when you bitch, you make yourself look like a tool, not me. And yeah, and I especially with I find that JoJo Bizarre Adventures and all the JoJo series really do have a very dedicated fan base and a pretty large fan base when it comes to the anime community. Are they like on the same level as maybe a Naruto, a Dragon Ball Z, a One Piece? No, I don't think they are. They're probably in the second. Like, I'd even argue Bleach might still be in the top tier of the fan bases, but if Bleach isn't, it's right in the second tier. I think JoJo falls right in the second tier, which is like around the lines of Demon Slayer, My Hero Academia, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, those types of animes. And when I talk about fan base, I do talk about like the most prevalent, popular fan bases. I know that JoJo's is up there. I just don't know if I put them in the top tier fan bases. They're easily in the second. They might be in the top tier. Again, I've never actually watched or read, so I can't say for certain. I digress though. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. My money goes on Yoshikage Kira. Let me know what you think of the comments below. Hit that bell if you want notifications. Ideas for who would win, Star Wars, Super Magic, whatever, anything to do with the channel. Put that in the comments below as well. I'll get that at some point. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.